Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Raw Politics. The obvious has been revealed. The Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the former Deputy President, yesterday in Ukambani, formally declared that him and the Mount Kenya region will back the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka for the 2027 presidential seat. In this video, we look at three things. Reasons why Rigathi said Mount Kenya was going to support Kalonzo, the value of Mount Kenya's support according to Rigathi Gachagua, and the conditions he gave for this particular support. If that is something you're keen on, I urge you to watch this video till the end. And if you're watching for the first time, so that you don't miss similar videos, just take a moment, subscribe to this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I said the obvious has been revealed. Why? Almost any person with political bones in their system already knew that Rigathi Gachagua was warming up to Kalonzo Musyoka even before he was impeached. In fact, the support Kalonzo and his MPs gave Rigathi was based on that existing relationship. There was a time Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo shared a church meeting in Mount Kenya, and Rigathi was very categorical that they were now looking for new friends, and Kambas were their friends, and they were expanding Kambas to be part of the Gema community. But what I'm saying is, it was not a surprise hearing Rigathi Gachagua say that they are planning to endorse Kalonzo Musyoka. Everybody knew that already, but he had not formally made it. He had not declared so formally. And so yesterday, in a funeral in Ukambani, he was very elaborate and mostly direct. And so Rigathi gave two reasons why Murima was supporting would support Kalonzo Musyoka come 2027. Number one, that Kalonzo Musyoka stood with their son, the late Mwai Kibaki. According to Rigathi Gachagua, Kibaki had won the election but lacked numbers in parliament. And Kalonzo came to his aid with ODM Kenya MPs and stabilized his government. So for that reason, they owed Kalonzo a debt. Number two, during his impeachment process, which he calls tribulations, the Ukambani people, especially the MPs led by Kalonzo Musyoka, stood with the people of the mountain. And for that reason, being very grateful community, they are willing to return the favor and support Kalonzo Musyoka come 2027. These reasons, ladies and gentlemen, are pathetic at best, but we will, for the sake of this discussion, allow them to pass. Why do I say these reasons are pathetic at best? Rigathi is painting the Mount Kenya region as a very grateful region, a region that if you support them today, they will do everything possible to support you tomorrow. And Rigathi was saying, we have paid Ruto's debt. We wanted to pay it in installment, but Ruto became very arrogant, and so we are done with him. We don't owe him anything. Then I asked them a simple question. That Kibaki, the one you said Kalonzo saved in 2007, that particular Kibaki got into office courtesy of Raila Odinga. I have never supported Raila Odinga. Locally, I've never liked him. Those who have followed me know that. But that does not change the truth. The truth is what it is. Whether I like the person or I don't like the person, Raila Odinga campaigned for Kibaki even when the man was out of the country and sick. He led campaign. In fact, then the people of Mount Kenya, especially Kikuyus, were calling Raila Jamba, a hero. You know what Kibaki promised Raila Odinga? that he was going to make him an executive prime minister. But when Kibaki got into power, through a member of his kitchen cabinet, one, the late John Mishuki, he said that MOUs are for winning elections. After elections are won, MOUs don't matter. In short, he told Raila Odinga to find something else to do, that they were not going to keep that particular MOU they had with them. And did you hear the people of Mount Kenya complaining? Being grateful people, being people who don't like politics of betrayal. Did you hear them complaining? No, no, no. In fact, they joined Kibaki in painting Raila as the worst person possible. They even fired Raila from the government he formed. So when somebody comes to you and tell you, you see, we the people of Mount Kenya, we hate politics of betrayal, that is neither here nor there, ladies and gentlemen. The record is there. In 2002, when this country thought that we had put tribalism behind us, the people of Mount Kenya, led by Mwai Kibaki, reintroduced tribalism at levels you've never seen. It was bad. They did it in ways that even Moi could not in 24 years. And Raila Odinga, who supported them, whom they had agreed to reward with a position, they told him to find something else to keep himself busy. And when he refused, they fired him from government. And in 2007, when he won the election, they stole his election. Did you hear the people of Mount Kenya saying, no, 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 we are not going to get behind you, Kibaki, in betraying Raila in 2002 or in stealing his election in 2007? No, they wouldn't say that, because then it was serving their cause. So when the former deputy president boldly says that his region is a grateful region, is a region that would pay her debts, I say that is neither here nor there. But for the sake of this discussion, we will let it pass. Still on the reasons why Mrima is supposed to support Kalonzo, they argue, Rigathi argues, that Kalonzo Musyoka and his people stood with him. So it is his turn to return the favor. But ladies and gentlemen, you all know Kalonzo Musyoka and Rigathi were not friends. And the only reason why Kalonzo Musyoka supported Rigathi during impeachment was because Rigathi had already promised that he was going to sever ranks with Ruto and support Kalonzo come 2007. He had not been impeached yet, but he had made it very clear. I told you, they met in a chat, and he made it very clear that looking forward, they are likely to go with Kalonzo as their candidate in 2007. So Kalonzo was not doing this out of the kindness of his heart. He was doing this because he had been promised that he would be supported. It is not the other way around. Kalonzo was not supporting these people out of the kindness of his heart, so that these people would say, so that the Murima would say, you did a very good thing, we are going to support you, we are going to return the favor by supporting you. He was supporting because he had been told he would be supported. But I said, we let Rigathi reasons pass for the sake of this discussion. Two reasons, we will let them pass. Kalonzo stood with our son in 2007 when he was under a severe attack from Raila and Ruto, and Kalonzo stood with our son, another son of ours again in 2024 when he was under severe attack from William Ruto and Raila. Apart from giving the reasons why they were supporting Kalonzo Musyoka, which is he stood with their sons through tough time, Rigathi also explained the value of their support. And number one, he said that wherever they support wins. To quote him, we are always on the winning side. Number two, we have the highest voter turnout in the country. We always give 98 to 99% voter turnout. And number three, we don't just have Mount Kenya. We are not just bringing Mount Kenya votes. We have votes among Maasais and Western. Three reasons why the Kambas should really appreciate the support of Mount Kenya, according to Rigathi. Well, Let us analyze each. Is it true that whatever Mount Kenya support wins? Partly yes, they have a lot of votes. So whoever they back has a serious head start. The truth is, Mount Kenya has serious votes, and the side they support has a serious head start. But the reason as to why I was saying partly is because they have, of course, supported sides and lost. In 1992, they supported somebody and they lost. In 97, Mount Kenya supported another person and they lost. In 2007, Mount Kenya was with Kibaki and Kibaki had to rig elections. They lost. So while Mount Kenya is a serious voting bloc, it is not true that whichever side they support must win. In most cases, they do win, but in some cases, they have also lost. That is why I said partly true and partly false, because it is not true that they must always win, but it is true that they have considerable voting power, that whoever they support has a head start. Let us look at another reason. According to Rigathi, Mount Kenya always votes 98% or 99%. Let's just take the last election. The 10 counties that form Mount Kenya as a combined voting bloc has 5.8 million votes. If you don't know these 10 counties, they are Kiambu, Murang'a, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Nyandarua, Meru, Embu, Tharaka, Nakuru, and Laikipia. It is not true that the entire Laikipia and Nakuru are Kikuyus and Merus, no. But for the sake of this discussion, we give the 10 counties as Mount Kenya. Those 10 counties have a combined total of 5.8 million votes according to the 2022 IEBC register. Of this, only 3.8 million voted in the last election. That is 65% voter turnout. 3 million voted for Ruto, 800,000 voted for Raila. But as a voter turnout, it was 65%. So the notion that Mount Kenya always votes 98% to 99% is good for selling the value of Mount Kenya, but it is not true. Again, I said we don't go with what we feel. We go with what the statistics are. And the statistics are the region has 5.8 million votes, not 10 million as you are being told. They don't. It's 5.7 something million votes, but I've rounded it off to 5.8 million votes. Not the 8 million or the 10 million votes you are told. Then, out of that, only 65% turned out to vote. Not 98% to 99% you're being told. Like I said, it's good to sell the value of Mount Kenya votes, but you don't have to lie that the turnout is always 98%. The third reason Rigathi gave as the value of Mount Kenya, is that they have the support of Western through Eugene and a few friends in Rift Valley, especially the Maasai. So that one is debatable. The Maasai one is debatable. Based on how they voted last time, they voted between Raila and Ruto. It is a 50-50-ish. So whether they were voting for Ruto because of the influence of Kikuyus among them or because of the influence of Kalenjin among them, that is 50-50. But as for Luyas, Rigathi is overstretching the value of Mount Kenya support. Because Eugene Wamalwa, as an individual, cannot be even as popular as Moses Wetangula. in the Luhya land. So in terms of the votes it can bring on the table to Mount Kenya, to top up Mount Kenya, even with the combined force of Natembeya. And that is why you saw Natembeya making an about turn. Whatever they can bring on board is not significant to use as a value proposition. So you cannot use Luhya. You can't say, you see, when you get Mount Kenya, you get Luhyas. No. The ugly truth is, if you get Luo land, you get Luhya. That is how it works. If you get the votes of Luos, meaning if Raila endorses you today, you will have Busia, you will have Vihiga, you will have Kakamega. And when Moses Wetangula endorses you, you have part of Trans Nzoia and you have Bungoma. And so that is serious value. So we have looked at why Rigathi says they will support Kalonzo Musyoka. Just to remind you, because Kalonzo stood with their sons in 2007 and in 2024. We have also looked at what Rigathi says is the value of Mount Kenya vote, that they never lose, meaning whichever side they support, they have to win. Number two, their voter turnout is the highest, 98 to 99%. He was even about to say 100%. And that they don't just come as Mount Kenya. If you get Mount Kenya, you get the Maasai votes and you get Western. The Maasai vote, I don't know, 50-50. But as for Western, no. Eugene Wamalwa, if that is what Rigathi is depending on, will bring him very little or nothing. Now, the third thing to look at is what Rigathi gave as conditions. So this support did not come without condition. And one of Rigathi's conditions was that the Kamba vote must be topped up to 4 million. And number two, they must have at least 80% voter turnout. Of course, voter turnout is to be seen on the day of voting, but Rigathi is saying on the table, Kalonzo should come with at least 4 million votes. Ladies and gentlemen, at times we exaggerate things too much. And that's the problem with our politics. So people get really disappointed when things don't work the way they expect. In fact, I always insist that the reason as to why Raila insists that his elections have been stolen is because they give him wrong data. They persuade him that his combination is bigger than the opponents, when statistically it is the opposite. But because people like believing what makes them happy, they pick those lies and believe them so much that when they find a different result, they are shocked. Take the case of Rigathi's demand that Kambas must be at least 4 million voters. Is that possible? According to the last census, we have about 4.4 million Kambas. Let's put it at 4.5, or because 2019 is a long time, let's say we have 5 million Kambas. Because Kambas are number 5 in terms of population in Kenya. If you have 5 million Kambas, for instance, how do you get 4 million votes out of that? Because that is assuming that majority of Kambas are people aged 18 and above. But that is not what our population is. Our population states that people aged below 20 form 50% of Kenya's population. That is how our data is. People aged below 20 years, actually below 19 years, form 50% of our population. If you took that to also Kamba, then the 1.7 always makes sense. You see? Because if you took, let's say, you have 4 million and 50% are aged below 18, then you have another 2 million which can register as voters. And so 1.7 million votes is not a bad thing. But then Rigathi is saying that these people have to be 4 million votes. How are they going to do that? It's an unrealistic demand without looking at figures. He also suggests that them, as Murima, will push their numbers to 10 million. That is also so awkward. And there is a reason why this is a very dangerous trend, ladies and gentlemen. When you claim that people who are barely 5 million in numbers can register 4 million voters, you are lying to the public, but you are giving them false hope. You are giving a group of people false hope. So that if they don't meet that, it will either be there is something the government did so that they could not register more votes, or there is a lie being perpetuated somewhere, or there is some rigging scheme. Take the Mount Kenya issue, for instance. Rigathi says that they will reach, he will do everything to push their numbers to 10 million voters in Murima. Okay, fine. There are 8 million Kikuyus. So add Meru, Embu, they hit 14 million. Yes. I'm very generous. Let's say now there are 14 million. Of these, according to our demographics, 50% of them are below 19 years. So let's say you have 50% that is capable of registering as voters. 50% can register as voters. 50% of 14 million is maybe 7 million. And the 5.8 makes sense. So Rigathi is saying he's going to take this to 10 million. That means, according to Rigathi, Mount Kenya alone constitutes 20 million Kenyans, which is not true. But you see, these lies, when they are told, and then people believe that we are 20 million, we can register 10 million of us as voters, and then remove Ruto. And then they find themselves maybe with 5.8, or they find themselves with 6 million at tops. They will be like, there's something that has been done against our community. So we were just looking at the conditions Rigathi has put. One condition for the campus is that they must be 4 million. They have to bring 4 million at the table. I am telling you that will need a miracle, because campus have to give birth very fast, that by 2027, we should have at least 8 million campus. And currently, according to the last statistics, there were 4 point something million. And I was even giving them 6 million. So I don't know if they are going to be that fertile to the point that when we reach 2027, they are 8 million, then they can bring the 4 million on the table. If Mount Kenya is going to be fertile from maybe 12 to even 20 million, then they can have that 10 million. But those are not realistic things. So the conditions Rigathi was giving was just to make Kalonzo feel inferior. Okay? He was just trying to tell him, we are doing you a favor. The votes we have, you can never match them. And so when you are coming to this table, we will be telling you what to do. That is exactly what Rigathi went to do in Ukambani. By telling them you have fewer votes, and if you want to be on the table, bring this number of votes and realistic number of votes. He was just telling them, we are superior to you. Our region has 5.8 million. Your region has 1.7 million. That is a difference of 4 million votes. That is why Rigathi was like, you have to bring 4 million on the table. He was saying you bring 4 million on the table. He knows they can't bring 4 million on the table. But if they don't bring 4 million on the table, then they are supposed to be dictated to. They don't come there as equal partner. That is the kind of relationship Rigathi always look for. Rigathi looks for a relationship where he calls the shot and he can blackmail you. You remember when he was still Ruto's deputy? Rigathi will not miss a chance to remind William Ruto who put him there. He will tell him that we gave you 47% of the votes that you got, that we gave you 3 million votes. He would repeat that every day to remind Ruto that Mount Kenya needs were supposed to be considered a priority, and number two, that whatever they wanted had to be granted no matter what. And that is what Rigathi has started to do with Kalonzo. That is my take. Because the unrealistic demand of 4 million, he knows they cannot bring that unless they rapidly procreate and be 8 million people by 2027, which is not possible. And Rigathi saying that they are going to push theirs to 10, just trying to intimidate Kalonzo, because he's saying, make yours to be 4 and we will push ours to 10, which makes Kalonzo's 4 less than a half of what Rigathi will be supposedly bringing on the table. He just wants to intimidate the guy, bring him on the table as an underdog, which they will now decide for him everything. And that is how Rigathi always operates. He wants a situation where you are at a disadvantage. You don't come to the table as an equal. You come there as an underdog, somebody they are doing a favor. And so you will be reminded every day that you have nothing you are bringing onto this table. We are just doing you a favor. And so you have to do as you are being told. That is what Rigathi went to do in Ukambani, if you ask me. The endorsement, the reasons he gave for the endorsement were lies, that there are people who appreciate, that there are people who don't like politics of betrayal. Record has it that Mount Kenya, when it favors them, they will betray you as if you don't matter. But if you try to do something against them, that is when they tell you how they hate betrayal. So it's okay. That is what they tell themselves. But you cannot use it as a genuine reason. I am persuaded that if Mount Kenya had a candidate that is viable, I want to tell you that without fear of contradiction, that if Mount Kenya had a viable candidate, somebody they know would vie and win, they would not even talk to Kalonzo Musyoka. They would not even ask him a question. They wouldn't. In fact, according to Rigathi, he had told Kambas that you have 1.5 million. What is that? You can check those videos. He dismissed them as nobodies. The reason as to why he is now hiding behind Kalonzo is because he persuaded that Kalonzo can be their tool, the human shield they use against Ruto. Because as of now, they don't have a candidate of their own. But that Kalonzo also will be given a candidate from Mount Kenya, and that is why he was being reminded of the number of votes they have versus the number of votes Mount Kenya has. And so when Kalonzo goes to this table, he goes as an underdog, somebody who must be obedient to the core and do what is being told. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my opinion of what Rigathi went to do there. As to whether this combination wins, I will repeat, it doesn't. It needs the support of either Luos or, miraculously, the Gen Zs. I said miraculously because as of now, the so-called Gen Z movement is a fallacy. They don't have numbers, and the numbers they have will always vote tribal. But if miraculously they become a serious force, maybe 10 million, and they add to what Kalonzo has with Mount Kenya, chances of Kalonzo becoming your president are there. But until that happens, ladies and gentlemen, the combination of Raila Odinga and William Ruto is superior to the combination of Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka. If you found this video useful, let me know in the comment section. And if you've not subscribed, take a moment, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss subsequent videos. Otherwise, allow me to thank you for taking your time to watch. And if you want a comparison, a detailed comparison between Raila Ruto versus Rigathi Kalonzo, watch this video.